The life of Kawaki from Naruto. Kawaki is a child raised by Kara to be the future vessel for Isshiki Ōtsutsuki, and the key to the fulfillment of their ultimate wish. After being brought to Konohagakure by Team 7, he's taken in by Naruto Uzumaki, who raises him as his own, during which he develops a brotherly bond with Boruto Uzumaki to solve the mystery of the Kāma. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Kawaki. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Background. In the anime, Kawaki chopped wood for a living in order to buy alcohol for his abusive, drunken father, Kokatsu. One day, a goldfish merchant invited him to a goldfish show that he was holding the next day after Kawaki had shown interest in the fish. Later, his father noticed the invitation in his pocket and punished Kawaki for interacting with strangers by forbidding him dinner. The next day, Kawaki was beaten by two boys until the goldfish merchant saved him and offered him a job by helping him sell goldfish in other villages. Kawaki hurried home after noticing the crack in the glass of his father's alcohol. Giving nothing but broken glass, Kawaki was locked in a room by Kokatsu. Shortly after, Jigen arrived to propose buying him with a large sum of money. Not wanting to leave his home, Kawaki promised his father that he would do more work to earn money, but was knocked unconscious when Kokatsu smashed an empty bottle on his head. Upon taking custody of the boy, Jigen told Kawaki that the suffering he endured was over and that there was nothing to fear, as he was his new father. As Kawaki and Jigen took the only tunnel out of the village, that seemingly friendly merchant from before revealed himself to be a child trafficker, hoping to take Kawaki for himself. After Kawaki waited outside the tunnel for the two men to settle who would take the boy, Jigen came out, claiming that the man had gladly withdrawn. When he was first brought to Kara, Jigen took Kawaki to Amado's laboratory, telling him that he would give Kawaki a gift when they truly became parent and child. As part of a ritual, Kawaki was one of 15 Ōtsutsuki vessel candidates that were placed in artificial wombs connected by tubes to jars of fluid, through which Jigen attempted to transfer his Kāma to them. The first 13 children all died. However, Jigen succeeded with Kawaki, one of his last attempts. Kawaki later awoke with a Kāma branded on his left hand. Despite Jigen's promise of safety, Kawaki would later describe his life from then on to be a living hell. He would constantly be put through grueling training, all so that he'd master the Kāma and become the perfect vessel for Isshiki Ōtsutsuki, as Jigen wanted. During the training, he would constantly berate Kawaki as only having value as a vessel for the Kāma, and would strike the boy whenever he questioned him. Kawaki eventually also underwent extensive body modification. Kawaki Arc. Upon reaching Phase 3 of the vessel for Kara's plans, Jigen had wanted to test Kawaki's power on the surface. Overhearing Jigen and Amado discussing this, Victor had offered to them to transport him using his high-tech stealth blimp. When the blimp that was transporting Kawaki crashed in the Land of Fire near the border, he left the scene, resulting in some of Kara's autonomous puppets pursuing him. After traveling a fair distance away from the crash, he defeated all the pursuing puppets before falling unconscious. Kawaki Arc. Upon his body being discovered by Team 7, the shinobi discovered he had an identical mark to Boruto Uzumaki's. When both their seals began to hurt, Kawaki was dreaming of his first time meeting Jigen, leading to him abruptly waking up and destroying the area within his vicinity. Questioning who the team was, Konohamaru identified himself and asked for information regarding the crash. Refusing to provide information and wanting to be left alone, Boruto revealed to Kawaki that he also had Kāma, resulting in Kawaki believing they were pursuers from Kara. As they tried to correct him, Garo made his presence known, announcing his intentions of recovering Kawaki. Launching another attack, Kawaki dodged and began fighting while modifying his body despite his weakened state. Upon Garo managing to subdue Kawaki, his Kāma activated and strengthened him, leading to Kawaki destroying Garo's prosthetic arm. Walking towards Garo and absorbing his blast, Kawaki impales him with his modified arm, before killing the outer with a shockwave. To his surprise, Boruto instinctively activated his mark to absorb the shockwave and protect his team. This convinced Kawaki more than ever that they were with Kara. Kawaki told Boruto to tell Jigen if he pursued him, the mountain of corpses would increase. Their conversation was cut short as smoke emerged from his body, leading to Kawaki collapsing and being examined by the shinobi. Ultimately, the Konoha nin decided to bring him to meet with the 7th Hokage. In the anime, Kawaki was brought to the Advanced Technology Research Institute in Ryutan City, where he was detained until further notice. Attempting to escape, he acquired some scientific ninja tools to aid his breakout, during which he was severely injured by Nue. Fleeing to a nearby village, he was pursued by Sumire Kake. Upon her finding him, Sumire realized the deep emotional scars Kawaki had from his childhood, able to relate. Soon after, the pair was attacked by police, forcing Kawaki to flee and fight his way out. Intercepted by Naruto, who learned from Sumire that Kawaki was just scared for his life. Naruto proceeded to passively hold Kawaki off until he collapsed from exhaustion. When Kawaki awoke, he found himself in the Konoha hospital, surrounded by the Konoha shinobi. Learning that he was in Konoha, Kawaki attempted to flee out the room's window, but was restrained by Shikamaru Nara. Afterwards, Naruto introduced himself as the Hokage. Later, after an agreement between the 5 Kage, it was decided that Kawaki would remain unrestrained within Konoha, with Naruto watching over him. Naruto escorted Kawaki through the village to his house, during which he fled for not wanting to be used. To his shock, Naruto effortlessly caught up and blocked his path, prompting Kawaki to continue going to the Hokage's house. There, he attempted to flee again, but in the process destroyed a vase, leading to Naruto asserting his prowess and intimidating Kawaki into submission. When Boruto discovered Kawaki would be living with his family, he begrudgingly apologized before introducing himself. Later, after the frustrated boys fought each other, Kawaki revealed how he obtained his Kāma, and suggested they work together to remove their markings. Telling Boruto he'll replace the vase, Naruto took him to get a replacement. On their way, he met Sarada Uchiha. In the anime, they also met her with Chocho at a pastry shop. There, Kawaki was treated to a snack, amazed at such flavors he had never tasted before. Soon, Kawaki was brought to Yamanaka Flowers. At the flower shop, Kawaki met Ino Yamanaka, to whom Naruto had entrusted to sense the enemies after him. There, he also had a panic attack after flower roots reminded him of Jigen's experiment. Seeing how traumatized Kawaki was, Naruto gave him a comforting hug, insisting that it was fine. In the anime, while treating Kawaki to lunch, he insists to Kawaki that sharing experiences with each other is a great way to connect with people. Upon returning to the Uzumaki house with a new vase and flowers, Boruto rejected the new vase and instead gave him glue to repair the broken one, much to Kawaki's anger. Later, while watching Boruto and Naruto spar, Kawaki insisted Boruto try using Kāma, prompting him to activate Boruto's. The mutual respect and support between the two after the match concluded surprised Kawaki, remembering his own harsh experience with father figures. Later, Naruto offered for Kawaki to try sparring with Boruto next time. Kawaki declined as he couldn't use chakra, and though Naruto insisted that all can learn to do so as chakra exists in all people, Kawaki only stated he would like learning to use a shadow clone solely so he could beat himself up to feel better when frustrated. Knowing the feeling of having nothing and no one, Naruto insisted that self-hatred would solve nothing, and that with friends he could change for the better, despite Kawaki believing it to be a complete lie. Afterwards, Kawaki bitterly decided to repair the broken vase. While struggling to fix it, Boruto decided to take Kawaki's offer of learning what he knows about their Kāma. Deciding to do so through sparring, the two quickly activated their respective marks. Kawaki then launched a blast with the intent of him absorbing it like previously, only for Boruto to instead damage his hand. Naruto called off the match and told the two to perform the Seal of Reconciliation. The event made their marks react. While Boruto saw a vision, Kawaki insisted he saw nothing when asked about it. As Naruto was alerted by Ino of an intruder, he informed the kids that an intruder was approaching them. The group was soon approached by Delta, who demanded Kawaki to be handed over. Informing Naruto that she was an inner and how much of a threat she was, Naruto instructed Kawaki to protect himself while he engaged her in battle. Throughout the fight, Kawaki attempted to calm Boruto, explaining how Naruto was controlling the flow of the fight, leading it away from them by going on the defensive so he could go all out. Delta eventually unleashed eye beams that Kawaki noted to be designed to overcome regeneration abilities. When Delta attempted to use Himawari to get Naruto on the path of her eye beams, Kawaki shielded him from the beam, rationalizing it as them being good as dead if Naruto had been hit. When the battle continued, Naruto overcame Delta's absorption ability and immobilized her body with his Rasengan, before she self-destructed. Following the battle, Kawaki was brought to Katasuke to repair his arm. When the scientist informed him that the technology in Kawaki's body was too advanced for him to handle, Naruto gave Kawaki one of his prosthetic arms that he powered with his chakra. Shocked at how sincere Naruto was at being nice, Kawaki asked to learn about ninjutsu, which Naruto agreed to and began training him. Preceding this, Kawaki trained in ninjutsu and continued repairing the vase, as well as spent time with Boruto and his peers, during which he opened an extreme shinobi picture scrolls and got a 4th Hokage card, which he traded for Boruto's 7th Hokage card. While Naruto slept and Kawaki discovered he was missing the last piece of the vase he constructed, Kurama manifested its head to warn Kawaki not to wander off from Naruto. While shocked, Kurama explains its role in watching over him, and corrected certain misconceptions Kawaki had about Naruto, explaining the various hardships he had to overcome. Moved by the story, Kawaki wondered if he could ever become someone like Naruto. Later, Kawaki impressed onlookers with his grasp over the basics of chakra control. When conversation turned to Kāma, Kawaki admitted Jigen was the one responsible for giving it to him, and that they would inevitably have to fight him. Boruto stood with Kawaki, even calling him his brother in support. Later, at home with Naruto, after giving up on finding the last piece of the vase, Kawaki's Kāma unexpectedly created a portal from which Jigen emerged. Aiming at taking Kawaki back with him, he pushed Naruto away, leading to Kawaki attempting to attack Jigen, but was subdued. Having talked down on the Hokage, Kawaki sprouted a horn in anger, during which Naruto kicked Jigen away. Seeing Jigen powering up in order to fight the Hokage, Kawaki pleaded with Jigen not to harm the Hokage if he came with him. Agreeing to his terms, Naruto intervenes, prompting Jigen to use space-time ninjutsu to remove the Hokage and himself from the situation, much to Kawaki's horror. Joined by Sarada, she questioned Kawaki about what happened, during which his prosthetic arm suddenly snapped off, horrifying Kawaki as he realized Jigen had eliminated Naruto. As Boruto and Mitsuki arrived, asking what had happened, Kawaki explained the situation. Finding himself subdued by Shikamaru, the Jonin voiced his distrust of Kawaki, while his team encased the area with a barrier. Interrogating Kawaki about recent events, Boruto vouched for him. As Kawaki continued to think about all he had experienced in Naruto's care, he realized Naruto was alive when his prosthetic arm reactivated. By synchronizing his Kāma with Boruto's, they were able to produce the same rift Jigen had did earlier. While Shikamaru refused to let anyone enter the rift, Kawaki used his Kāma to escape Shikamaru's technique, while he and the Genin entered the rift to find Naruto. On the other side, they arrived in a large rocky terrain where they met Boro. As the children prepared to fight the inner member, Boro quickly displayed his might, forcing them on the defensive as Boruto and Kawaki used their Kāma to absorb the foe's techniques. When Boro sapped their strength with his mist technique, the combined effort of Mitsuki and Sarada gave the team an opening to retreat. Analyzing Boro's mist, Sarada determined it was a virus, prompting Mitsuki to administer and cure the team with antibodies, and Kawaki agreeing with Mitsuki in making her team leader. After she created an opening to attack Boro, Kawaki amplified Boruto's Rasengan with his Kāma, destroying much of Boro's upper body before he regenerated. Rushing at Naruto, Kawaki broke formation to protect him, leading to Boro attacking Kawaki with Shuriken. Battered from the trap, Boruto and Mitsuki battled off Boro with their various attacks, while Kawaki explained to Sarada the true nature behind Boro's limitless regeneration. Noting that they had to destroy the special core implanted inside Boro, Kawaki joined in assaulting Boro while Sarada searched for the object. Eventually, she succeeded and struck it with her Chidori. Successfully removing the core, Boro's body began mutating without its stabilizer. Despite Boro's vulnerable state, Kawaki insisted that it was too dangerous to approach and they should focus on the Hokage. Believing they could use their Kāma to create a rift like they did to reach this dimension to free Naruto, Kawaki and Boruto focused on the seal, proving successful as the unconscious Hokage was released. While the kids checked on Naruto, Boro composed himself enough to turn his rage on the kids, knocking out Mitsuki and Kawaki. Kawaki recovered just as Boruto defeated Boro with the power of his Kāma, and asked Mitsuki what happened, who himself wasn't sure. After the team returned to Konoha with Naruto, they were all taken to the hospital for treatment. There, Kawaki was put through various tests, where Katasuke Tono determined that his body was rejecting the prosthetic arm due to its incompatible nature with Kawaki's chakra and nanotech, and continued usage of the arm was causing him great pain. He took it in stride, insisting that his body wouldn't give in so easily. Boruto informed him that Naruto had made a full recovery. In the anime, as Kawaki's new friends continued to help cheer him up from recent events with snacks and games, he was surprised to see that Sumire was so close to them despite having left shinobi work. Hearing how much the child shinobi were also determined to aid each other, Kawaki ultimately accepted Sumire's earlier offer for some painkillers. After being released from the hospital, Kawaki decided it would be best to leave the village as his Kāma would only endanger everyone. Before he could, he found himself helping Himawari to care for an injured and lone white wolf. Despite the girl's efforts, the wolf was ultimately killed by a bear. Soon after, Kawaki made his way to the village gate, where he was intercepted by Boruto, who found Kawaki's farewell note early. Between the words of support from Boruto and the insistence that Konoha always looks out for its own, which now includes Kawaki, Kawaki decided to stay. Later, Shikadai was taken prisoner by Amado, who wished to speak to Shikamaru. Kawaki confirmed Amado's identity, recognizing his voice. When Amado was brought in for questioning regarding his wish to defect to Konohagakure, Kawaki watched his interrogation. He confirmed Amado's high standing in the organization and the danger he put himself in merely by leaving headquarters. Kawaki was surprised to learn that Amado and Koji conspired against Jigen and were responsible for the airship crash that allowed him to escape. When Amado had his glasses removed to project the meeting between Koji and Jigen, Kawaki watched. Kawaki kept on listening to Amado's explanation of his and Koji's goal to kill Jigen, his nature as an imperfect vessel of Isshiki Ōtsutsuki, and Kawaki's own nature as Ishiki's intended perfect vessel. As Jigen got closer to death, Sasuke wondered if that meant that Isshiki would resurrect into Kawaki's body. Kawaki rushed to attack Amado but was stopped by Sasuke. Amado clarified the situation, explaining that unlike Jigen, Kawaki's Kāma hasn't fully extracted Ishiki's data into his body, and that upon death, a Kāma will automatically resurrect the Ōtsutsuki who implanted it regardless of their will. As Jigen was killed, Isshiki was forcibly reborn in him, even if he was a dead body of an imperfect vessel. This also triggered Kawaki's Kāma, which raged for a moment before disappearing, leaving Kawaki unconscious. Amado explained that Ishiki's resurrection was unstable and he would seek out Kawaki again to rebrand him. Soon afterwards, they were alerted that Isshiki had arrived in the village. While Sasuke and Naruto went to engage Isshiki, an unconscious Kawaki was taken to an underground facility for protection. Kawaki dreamed of Jigen's words before waking up. He was surprised to see his Kāma had disappeared, and Amado explained the situation to him. Shikamaru told him he was free from being Ishiki's vessel, but Kawaki pointed out Ishiki still wished to rebrand him. Amado remained optimistic, as they didn't require beating Isshiki, only stopping him from applying a new Kāma until Jigen's body gave out. Kawaki was concerned with learning that Boruto had joined the fight against Isshiki, but Amado pointed out Boruto had his own value to add to the fight, intriguing everyone. Amado explained that Boruto, as a wielder of a Kāma, was invaluable to Isshiki. As the god tree can only reach full maturity by sacrificing an Ōtsutsuki, once Boruto was fully transformed by his mark, Isshiki could sacrifice Boruto instead of himself. Kawaki was furious at Amado's calm demeanor, demanding to know how much of this he planned for. Amado insisted that he only made the best choices available to him. As the Konoha nin managed to calm Kawaki down, Amado offhandedly asked Kawaki if he's more furious at his powerlessness or no longer having a purpose without his Kāma. Kawaki remained silent. As Amado was intrigued by Kawaki's prosthetic arm, he noted that he could easily restore Kawaki's original arm. Kawaki noticed that the chakra in his arm was diminishing, meaning Naruto was in danger. Suddenly, a rift engulfed him. He found himself in Ishiki's dimension, dragged there through the chakra connection between his prosthetic arm and Naruto's chakra. Isshiki turned to rebrand him. As Kawaki tried to escape Isshiki, he opted to use Kawaki's love for Naruto against him, assaulting the downed Hokage. Kawaki ultimately showed himself and attacked using the ninjutsu Naruto had taught him. Isshiki easily overpowered it and branded Kawaki again, smugly declaring his victory, only to see the mark disappear. As the horrified Isshiki asked how this was possible, Kawaki was revealed to only be a shadow clone, making him insufficient to receive a Kāma. Finally, Ishiki's time ran out and he crumbled to dust, where Kawaki proudly stomped out the remains. As Kawaki turned his attention to Naruto to check on his condition, Boruto suddenly assaulted Sasuke, stabbing his Rinnegan, now under Momoshiki's control. Thinking back to his many talks and arguments with Boruto, Kawaki called out to him and attacked Momoshiki. Momoshiki noticed that Kawaki's Kāma had extracted enough to make him mostly Ōtsutsuki, so he decided to sacrifice Kawaki to cultivate a god tree. Sasuke explained to Kawaki what he deduced about chakra expenditure and Momoshiki's surfacing, and they decided to replenish Boruto's chakra for his personality to resurface. Momoshiki incapacitated Sasuke with a vanishing Rasengan and moved to leave with Kawaki. Kawaki attempted to self-immolate, forcing Momoshiki to absorb it, which was enough for Boruto to resurface and regain control. As he fell exhausted, Boruto apologized for the trouble and Kawaki apologized back. Kawaki was alerted to Naruto suddenly losing consciousness. Upon checking on the Hokage, he soon awoke, revealing that the usage of the Baryon mode against Isshiki came at the cost of Kurama dying inside of him, voiding Naruto of the Kitsune's chakra and powers. With Sasuke's Rinnegan and Kawaki's Kāma both gone, it was up to Boruto to use his mark to bring everyone back. Boruto struggled in fear of Momoshiki re-emerging. This prompted Kawaki to speak bluntly to Boruto, insisting that they will find a way to free Boruto from his burden, but first they must return home. Ultimately, Boruto was able to access a rift, letting everyone return to Konoha. Boruto proclaimed he felt empowered when alongside Kawaki, who mocked Boruto for his sappiness. In the anime, Naruto's reduced chakra levels made him unable to properly charge Kawaki's prosthetic arm. Later, he was approached by Sumire for help. Ultimately, Kawaki's arm was restored by Amado. After returning the prosthetic arm to Naruto, he offered Kawaki the chance to become a genin. Kawaki said he would think about it. Chūnin Re-Examination Arc. In the anime, following Isshiki's attack, Naruto hosted another Chūnin exam. Pleased with passing the first written exam, Boruto brought Kawaki some taiyaki. Kawaki found it strange, and Himawari warned him against snacking before dinner, which he ignored. Code Arc. He later met with Boruto, who was put off active duty so his Kāma could be monitored. Sympathizing with Boruto's dilemma, he noted there may be a way to save Boruto. He told Boruto about Code, an inner with a fanatical devotion to Isshiki who failed to become a vessel himself. Despite the failure, he obtained a white Kāma and became even more powerful than Delta or Boro. Kawaki suggested finding a way for Boruto to create his own Kāma and implant it in Code so he can resurrect using Code's body. Later, Kawaki joined Team 7 in training drills. He was annoyed to hear that Boruto was taking experimental pills to suppress his Ōtsutsuki transformation rather than work to transfer his Kāma to Code. He also voiced his displeasure at such basic training methods. When asked how to go about things instead, he began attacking his friends, insisting that extreme combat is the best way, as it was Jigen's brutal training methods that allowed Kawaki to grow faster. As Kawaki proved to be quickly adapting his body modifications with his newfound ninjutsu, his attacks became more aggressive, forcing Boruto to voice his displeasure. Boruto and Kawaki made the bet that the winner of the fight would dictate their training style. As Kawaki used more of his modified powers, Boruto used his Kāma to absorb a blast from him, and in turn attacked using lightning release. Kawaki instinctively tried to absorb it, still used to relying on his Kāma. This opening let Boruto quickly win the match. As Kawaki pouted at his defeat, knowing how much weaker he is now without the mark, Boruto saw through Kawaki's mindset. He insisted that Kawaki didn't have to handle everything alone and should trust in his friends to help. Kawaki honored the bet, but still voiced his distaste at Boruto's methods, vowing himself to get stronger by any means. Later, at the end of a maintenance session, Kawaki woke up from a nightmare with Code and declared himself no longer a vessel to Isshiki. Amado corrected him, pointing out that while Ishiki's soul had vanished, the Ōtsutsuki modifications to his body remained. Kawaki resented the comments, and Amado revealed his knowledge of Kawaki's plans to have Code branded with a Kāma from Boruto. He remained skeptical of the plan as Code already had a different Kāma. He raised the possibility of rebranding Kawaki, as with Ishiki's soul gone, he could accept his powers without fear of possession. He appealed to Kawaki's desire to protect Naruto, pointing out the likelihood of Code overpowering him after the loss of the Nine Tails. Kawaki refused and stormed off. He kept thinking about it and came across Shikadai, who noticed how troubled he looked. He knew that villagers had concerns about Kawaki despite not knowing his connection to Kara, and insisted that Kawaki should ignore them. Shikadai reminded him that he had friends and a home in Konoha. Kawaki thanked him for his words. A week later, while allowed to walk around the village alone, Kawaki was still subject to surveillance by shinobi. Because of the rumors Shikadai warned him about, civilians would also stare and whisper about him. Kawaki grew fond of watching the village from Hokage Rock, feeling that he didn't truly belong as Isshiki had constantly told him. Naruto dismissed it, calling him his son. Back at home, they finally had time to prepare a proper dinner and welcomed him. Kawaki tried to convince Himawari to use the vase he bought instead of the one he fixed, but she thought it made the vase even more special. Acknowledging his goal of becoming a shinobi, Boruto loaned Kawaki his forehead protector, as he already had Sasuke's, telling him to return it once he earned his own. At night, Naruto again insisted that Konoha was a place he could live at ease, else he had failed as Hokage. Kawaki thought of Amado's offer to rebrand him with a Kāma and dismissed it, thinking he still had a way to protect the village and Naruto. Later, as surveillance on him continued, he learned more about how the village's security worked from his friends. An offhanded comment from Inojin about how suppressing one's chakra could allow one to escape detecting gave Kawaki an idea. That night, he subtly switched places with a shadow clone and left the village while concealing his chakra. He was found out by Boruto, asking the shadow clone what he was up to. The real Kawaki was impressed, figuring Boruto was unaffected by the concealment because of his own Ōtsutsuki traits. Kawaki's ruse was exposed by Boruto, so he released his shadow clone. Outside the village, Kawaki met with Code, and the two fought for a bit, eventually being subdued by Code. He offered to let Code kill him as revenge for Isshiki if he would leave Konoha alone. Code found his proposition ridiculous and continued pummeling him, revealing his inheritance of Ishiki's will and plans. He also explained that Kawaki is no longer a target of his revenge, as someone else wanted to meet him. Before Code could take Kawaki with him, he was interrupted by Boruto. Kawaki and Boruto argued over each other's actions, Kawaki insisting that what he was doing was for Naruto's protection. He deduced that someone must have influenced Code for him to refrain from taking revenge on him, and wanted to leave with Code to negotiate with them. Boruto, who wanted to protect Kawaki, disagreed, and began fighting Code while Kawaki watched, until Boruto began tapping into the Kāma more deeply. Flashforward. In the wake of Konoha's destruction, 4 years after meeting Team Konohamaru, the two faced off and destroyed Hokage Rock, where Kawaki vowed to defeat them and told Boruto that the shinobi era was over. Abilities. Though not a ninja, Kawaki is still a remarkably powerful fighter, having been brutally trained in armed and unarmed combat by Jigen to master his various enhancements. In the past, he was able to destroy dozens of dangerous robotic puppets. With the power he wields, he would have killed Team Konohamaru with a single attack had Boruto not tapped into his own Kāma and absorbed it, with Delta openly praising Kawaki's might. Kawaki was hypothesized to be an incredible shinobi if he could learn to use ninjutsu on top of having Kāma and his shinobi wear. Kāma. Kawaki possesses the Kāma mark of Isshiki Ōtsutsuki, which he acquired when the Ōtsutsuki branded him in hopes of making him his vessel. Due to his training under Jigen, Kawaki is able to activate the mark at will, although at times it does activate out of his control and properly using his power. He could absorb any chakra or ninjutsu-based target and create large-scale explosions with it active. However, using the mark causes his body to overheat, leaving him unconscious. When synchronizing his Kāma with Boruto, they can produce a space-time rift to enter different dimensions. Having proved compatible with the mark, Kawaki's body has gradually been rewritten at a genetic level to be reborn as a perfect Ōtsutsuki. With the continued advancement of his mark, Kawaki has begun to subconsciously access a transformed state, manifesting a small horn on the left side of his head. Kawaki's contact with Boruto, who bears Momoshiki's Kāma, created a resonance that accelerates the takeover rate of both vessels. By the improper resurrection of Isshiki, Kawaki's being has mostly been written into Ishiki's likeness. The forced resurrection of Isshiki also resulted in Kawaki's Kāma being erased. However, later he was branded with another Kāma. Body modifications. Kawaki's body has undergone significant modification by Yamato, with microscopic technology being implanted into his body that constantly alters his physiology throughout his circulatory and nervous systems, transforming him into something of a living scientific ninja tool. Upon initial examination, Katasuke Tono deems these cybernetics in his body a work of art, as advanced as the prosthetic arm he designed for Naruto Uzumaki, if not more so. He also clarifies that unlike Mitsuki, who is a synthetic human that was genetically engineered using organic technology, Kawaki is a human being who is transformed into something else using inorganic technology. His shinobi wear takes the form of nanoscopic scientific tools implanted throughout his entire body, which seem to be able to make particular alterations at the cellular level, granting him superhuman abilities similar to a Kekkei Genkai. For example, his body tissue can undergo rapid cellular division, being able to regenerate lost anatomy or causing it to expand, and it can also instantly undergo sclerosis or malacia to harden or soften. This allows him to partially transform his body, weaponizing it to produce sharp blades or piercing tendrils. These growths can even be shed or thrown as projectiles, allowing him to produce a myriad of tools and weapons for battle. This also provides him with an accelerated healing rate, able to mend his injuries in minutes. He can also produce a powerful shockwave from his body, either as a focused blast or in all directions, even the ground below him. When Kawaki lost permanently his right arm to Delta's destruction beam, he was given a prosthetic replacement by Katasuke, which does not compare to the advanced technology of his body. It siphons trivial amounts of chakra from Naruto to function, and does not operate when Naruto sleeps or falls unconscious. Furthermore, Kawaki's modified body seems to be rejecting this replacement prosthetic due to the difference in the complexity of the technologies, making them ultimately incompatible. After Ishiki's death, Amato repaired Kawaki's arm and restored it. Physical prowess. Kawaki specializes in close-range combat. His style is shown to be very nimble and coordinated, flipping about to evade enemy attacks and using the environment to launch himself at the opponent, upon which he is able to seamlessly unleash a barrage of strikes from each of his limbs. He is also very resilient. While already being tired beforehand, he was able to endure Garo's savage assault and continue fighting effectively despite his battered state. Kawaki is later shown to be proficient in using a bow, able to match Boruto's swordsmanship. Ninjutsu. Since living in Konohagakure and taking an interest in ninjutsu, he began learning it from the 7th Hokage. This included chakra manipulation and shuriken jutsu, to which he showed a noticeable talent for, mastering the basics in a short period of time. He is able to perform more advanced techniques with a single hand, including fire release and the shadow clone technique. He also demonstrated great ingenuity, using the limited skill he had acquired for clever deceptions. Kawaki instinctively learned the Ōtsutsuki ability to hide his chakra signature. Personality. Stemming from his harsh childhood, Kawaki is shown to be aggressive and vulgar to people he dislikes or opposes. At the same time, despite his efforts to distance himself from others, he was not completely heartless. He showed sympathy for weak and injured animals and refused to let innocent children get hurt. Also, he can remain calm and collected when questioning strangers, such as when Kawaki listened to Konohamaru Sarutobi's explanation about himself and his team. When not letting his temper get the best of him, Kawaki is shown to be very observant and pragmatic, easily reading the flow of battle before him and how best to react. Due to the massive suffering he's endured while forced to be a vessel of the Kara, which he described as being living hell, he would gladly die rather than be stuck in said hell for the rest of his life. He's even shown signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, as simply seeing dripping roots of plants serves as a reminder of his struggles and has left him panting in horror. He appears to loathe himself for what he's become over the years he spent with Kara, stating that he would learn the shadow clone technique just so he could beat himself up to vent out. Kawaki harbors deep resentment against Kara, being highly alert and aggressive when facing off against members of the group. He particularly resents Jigen for what he is deemed as a violation of his promises of safety, as shown by how he quickly erupted into a rage while unconscious, upon being reminded of Jigen's adoption of him, and later when he showed clear resentment while describing Jigen's experiment. However, while appearing to be confident in his ability to defeat the Outers, he knows better than to believe that he could possibly come out on top against any of the Inners, knowing their completely monstrous might, and has shown fear of them, sweating in the presence of Delta and expressing brief but great shock that Naruto could be even more powerful than Jigen, who he knew full well was the strongest member of Kara. Even though he deeply loathed Jigen and believed that with Naruto protecting him he was safe, Kawaki remained terrified of him, as Jigen's arrival through the Kāma he forced on Kawaki caused him genuine horror and fear, not for just himself but for Naruto. And after seeing Naruto struggling against the far weaker Delta and then being overtaken with ease by his adopted father, when Jigen attacked Konoha to retrieve him and was about to engage Naruto, Kawaki instantly surrendered, believing that a fight between the two of them could end in Naruto's defeat and death. This fear, however, at least after his change due to his time in Konoha, is not at the level where he would allow himself to be defeated without putting up a fight, as he attempted to attack Jigen even though he knew how futile it would be for him to fight his adopted father, who he has always lost to in their spars. And despite being effortlessly restrained, he did not bother to defend Naruto and insult Jigen. And later on, despite describing Boro as being even worse in some ways than Jigen, he challenged him to save Naruto along with the rest of Team 7. His hatred for Jigen and later Isshiki was so powerful that he openly relished in seeing Ishiki's impending death, even stepping on his crumbling remains while insulting him. Being used by Isshiki made him detest the rest of the Ōtsutsuki clan as well, as he expressed his hatred for Momoshiki's similar mindset. Kawaki's hatred for Kara also let him be unsympathetic for his fellow vessel experiment Code, as he suggested for Boruto to turn Code into his vessel to prevent Momoshiki from destroying his individuality. Due to his harsh childhood, he is a stranger to simple joys like pastries, as he is openly amazed at their flavor. He is also constantly on guard, instinctively attacking a child for bumping into him without hesitation, although he claims he was only interested in scaring the child to show him the harshness of life. Kawaki also seems to possess a dry sense of humor, as shown when Kawaki mocked Garo for his part in disfiguring his jaw in the past. He is also shown to be quite ruthless, fully capable of killing anyone who either opposes or angers him. In addition, Kawaki is also antisocial, showing little to no respect for others and being openly blunt and rude in his decision and opinion. Although he does have some manners, as he's shown to be not above apologizing when he does something wrong, even if he initially believed it to be unnecessary, as shown by how he apologized, even if half-heartedly, on how he broke the flower vase Himawari gifted to Hinata after seeing how much it hurt her. In addition, he is not above fixing his mistakes if necessary, as although begrudgingly, Kawaki was willing to buy another vase to make Boruto agree to work with him, nor has his heart completely been closed off, according to Kurama, as Naruto's advice against self-hatred did, if even bitterly, change his decision to use how to use shadow clones to beat himself up, and even cause him to try to fix the broken vase, and he even came to appreciate his relationship with Naruto and his family, risking his life to save Himawari, although he insisted that it was for self-preservation on needing to keep the Hokage alive. Over time, with his new life in Konohagakure, Kawaki began opening up to others, apparently enjoying the game Extreme Shinobi Picture Scrolls and showing an interest in learning ninjutsu. In the anime, his neglectful upbringing caused common foods to be fascinating novelties to him. He became noticeably more responsible in tasks placed on him and relatively more calm and respectful. This change in nature largely came from Naruto, who would continuously show such patience and compassion to the boy. Also stemming from this, Kawaki came to respect the 7th Hokage, apparently even seeing him as a father figure, as he offered to trade an extremely rare 4th Hokage card for a 7th Hokage card, hoping to learn more about Naruto. Later, in learning about how he shared kinship with Naruto, both having such troubled childhoods yet Naruto was able to raise beyond it to find joy, Kawaki came to deeply admire Naruto and driven to learn from his example. He also became noticeably more reasonable, lashing out less even when under house arrest. Even more, he becomes infuriated with Jigen after the latter insulted Naruto, ordering him to never speak ill of Naruto. He also later came to respect Boruto, happy when Boruto openly considered him a brother. This newfound loyalty towards his surrogate family was even willing to sacrifice his freedom to ensure their survival. Even more, he without hesitation left to Jigen's alternate dimension to help Naruto. When facing Isshiki, Kawaki openly voiced he'd rather be dead than live in a world without Naruto, viewing himself proudly as a student of the Hokage. Later, in the future, he is shown to be somber with a detached and dark outlook. Kawaki apparently came to despise Shinobi as he became driven to end its era once and for all. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.